So at some point too, now you've got managers that report to you that have teams.
Directors.
So you're kind of leading other leaders.
Leader of leaders, yes.
Yeah. Was that difficult to make that pivot?
So I've always been very good when we think about crucial conversations of asking for help, especially when I don't know or looking at a book or looking at resources. And one of the biggest things is, again, making that mental pivot. Now the people who work for me are people like me, potentially, right? So what I try to think about from my seat, what does a good boss look like? How do I make sure that I'm not being overbearing? Then it's really important, and I think a lot of leaders struggle with this, moving through those different phases. They may move well from individual contributor to manager, but moving from manager to leader of leaders is tough, because now the relationship is more about you're setting strategy. You're not executing. You're not in the day-to-day. And really understanding at each of the levels that you move through, what does that look like? And also talking to other leaders and paying attention, like as I mentioned earlier in my career, kind of paying attention to what's happening in the water around you, really taking that opportunity to go through and say, hey, what do typical vice presidents do, right? What does that mean to manage directors versus managers now? And what type of boundaries should I be setting? How much should I be putting into understanding the organization?
So what's a nugget? Like, what's one thing that you learned that's different about being a vice president?
Well, I won't say it's very different other than the level of people you're managing and being more strategic. The one thing is how I learn and the approach I take. That's very different now. So for example, I like to get into the details. I like to do ride-bys where I sit with someone on the floor or sit with an associate and understand what they're doing. The biggest differentiator is, as a manager or maybe even a director, you just go do it. Or now you say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Here are my intentions, because people get weirded out by that, right? And I say, try to make my intentions very clear that, hey, it's here to learn, and I'm here to learn, I'm here to guide, and I'm really trying to understand your day-to-day. So I go in 100% listening.
Yeah.
And then before I make a decision or come back with any advice about, hey, we should do this, I'm all in. I may, in the back of my mind, already know or already have a strategy in mind of what should happen, but I can't really articulate that, and I cannot even justify that without understanding the experience that the associates are going through. So I really try to listen, and that's a huge difference.